evening.
We are live, ladies. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Whether you're joining us by Facebook or if you're joining us via YouTube, we thank you for your time this evening and joining us for Sisters Healing and Evolving's monthly episode of She Healthy Woman. We are excited this evening to come to you and to talk with you on such a matter that is increasing in America and in the lives of people that we love and know, and in the lives of everyone around us. And we're just excited to be able to bring this information to you where we're providing you with knowledge, access, and support so that you would be a better you mentally. So I am Chandra Green, the founder and managing director at Sisters Healing and Evolving Incorporated, a 501c3 nonprofit organization where we empower and help women to build the foundation of their lives based on the Word of God. And we do that by looking at the whole woman and making sure that you have the knowledge, the access, and the resources and the support that you need to be a better you. So tonight we have with us Phyllis Booz, the founder of MDH Consulting LLC, and I'm going to go around and ask them to introduce themselves after I call out their names and just welcome them because I'm so grateful that they took time out of their busy schedules tonight to be with us. And then we have Antoinette Awishika, who is a wonderful massage therapist who will be talking to us and giving us great information on touch therapy tonight. And then we have the wonderful Jacqueline Richardson with us tonight, who is a wonderful person, and she has knowledge and information to share with us from the psychology perspective. So I'm excited, and so I'm going to ask Phyllis to go ahead and introduce herself and just tell us a little bit about herself and who she is in her business.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Phyllis Booz of My Heart's Desire Consulting and Services, MHD Consulting, and we empower, equip, and educate in health education, health safety information. We also do some work in restorative exercise, making exercise accessible for everyone. I am a mental health first aid instructor, a CPR instructor, as well as a suicide prevention facilitator. And my background is in healthcare educator, and I'm also an EMT for state of North Carolina. So just wear a couple of hats, but basically anything, all things health is my background.
Thank you so much, Phyllis, for joining us tonight. We're excited to have you, and we are excited to hear what you have to share with us tonight.
Awesome.
Antoinette, if you would introduce yourself for us. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
I am Antoinette Awishika. I am a woman who is passionate about the health, wealth, and well-being of the people that I've been called to serve. My company name is No Frills Massage, and I wholeheartedly believe and know that I've been given the assignment of unmasking trauma through educating people about their bodies and all the natural options they have available to them spiritually, mentally, and physically. As a practicing massage therapist and an evolving massage therapist, I have come to understand and continue to understand that the body is a whole unit and should be treated as such. And I understand that therapeutic touch, when it is size, caring, and compassionate, with the intention, is very powerful at unlocking and dissolving the dis-ease, the displeasure, and the dysfunction that some of us or all of us may go through at a certain time of life. And what it does is it reveals the peace, the prosperity, and the possibility. So I have been privileged to work with Alvin Ailey, American Dance Theater, and helping their dancers, which really are Olympic athletes, maintain their instruments of majestic dance, which is their bodies. And I've also been just very fortunate to work with people just along all genres, whether it's blue collar, white collar, just working with people and just seeing the range of issues that they have and understanding that physical touch is definitely a benefit. And my goal and my mission is to educate people about their bodies so that will educate them and empower them so that they can make better decisions throughout their lives. So I am Antoinette Oloshika. I'm here to serve and to be a blessing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. We are excited to hear all that you have to tell us, especially about the touch therapy and how you're helping people to heal through touch therapy. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us. And then we have with us Jacqueline Richardson. I am so sad to have my sister Jackie Gale. I always say that. So just to share some you, her mom calls her Jackie Gale, and ever since I've heard her say that, it just trips me out. So, how are you, Jackie? And tell us a little bit about yourself and what you have.
Well, I'm doing well. Thank you, Chandra, for having me this evening. And I want to say good evening, everyone who is watching, and to my sisters, Phyllis and Antoinette and Chandrell. I am really happy to be here. And it's a pleasure and an honor, really, to be of service to you all and to work with the She Corporation. So it's really amazing, just to be able to share all those things that, we go to school for and we put it in our minds, but we got to give it away. So I'm just grateful to have that opportunity. For me, psychology and helping people and coaching, that's really where my passion lies, is just helping people to understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're doing it, and then helping them to just be their best that they can be. And I think that's just a call on all of our lives, just to help others be their best. And so I just love what we have for tonight, and I have a couple of varied professional experiences. I love cooking. I have culinary arts behind me, and fine arts and psychology. So as long as I'm serving and feeding people, it could be love or it can be a meal, I'm happy.
All right. All right. I'm excited. So I'm just excited about this conversation tonight and all that we have, discussed prior to this conversation. And so I'm going to kick it off. We do have some questions over in Facebook, and I want to address it. Miss Carrie Ann Hillard says, how do we help others who are going through mental health like we do with those that are sick with an illness that we can see?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good question.
That is good.
I think that's a very good question, and a very good question to start us off tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Because
would you like me to give the background things and disclaimers and such, and then we'll get into those questions? Is that okay?
Yes. So will Phyllis be giving those background disclaimers?
Oh, no, I have them for us, if that's okay. Great. Yes. So for all those who are watching and participating, we always want to be mindful that you, as the participant, understand that we are not to take the place of your mental health providers or your doctors. We are here to equip you with invaluable information for your mind, body, and your soul. Okay. So we're here to give you knowledge, to give you access, and to support you. And so please be mindful of that. We are not to take the place of your mental health providers. I am going to be the moderator for the evening. So my name is Jacqueline. So if anyone, only one person on here, you can call me Jackie Gale. And then maybe two. Maybe two. And also being mindful that we're going to have resources for mental health aid, and which is going to be a part of something that you can take away with. Okay. So if you all are recording, make sure you keep that and you share this information. If you are a note taker like me, I'm old school. I still take down notes with my handy dandy pen. So you can write down some information. And then we also may put some links in the chat as well. So, and I will say this, number one, always, you can Google search your suicide and health, prevention line. That is a national hotline number. Also within your community, there should be a Department of Social Services for emergency mental health, questions or assistance that you may need. And so those are two things you can do immediately if something is going on. Okay. So I think that's super helpful, to let you all know as well. And would you like to do a little recap of what we spoke about last month, Chandra, or do you want me to go over that?
You can go right ahead.
Okay.
Can I interrupt? Can I interrupt just to do
Absolutely.
the Zoom? If anyone should find during this conversation that, because talking about mental health can be triggering, it can trigger different emotions and different things. So if anyone should have a need while we're talking, Jacqueline is going to be your resource to reach out to. We can open up a Zoom room that you can go to in private to have a conversation with her. Of course, if this isn't a mental emergency, medical emergency, of course, 911, but we can stand right there with you if you should need any assistance while we're talking. So contact Jackie, and then she'll put you in a Zoom room with her, and you guys can talk privately.
All right. Thank you all so much. So last month, just as a refresher, and for those who weren't with us last month, in April, we were speaking about our health being our wealth, and our health meaning mental, physical, and spiritual health being our wealth. Okay. So meaning we have all of those things that are embody each individual person that actually can help assist us in our quality of life. So think about your mental health, your physical health, and your spiritual health as being capital, or money, if you will, and you can spend it. It is not an endless resource. It has a limit. And how are we utilizing our health, and how does it equate to our wealth, and what kind of quality of life are we having? So today we're going to hone in on our mental health. And so being mindful that our minds, that is what we're going to be talking about. We're going straight to the brain. And of course, in a spiritual aspect, we're talking about our hearts as well. So our hearts and our minds, but scientifically, we're going to be talking about the brain, of course, and how it really is impacted by the physical health, of our bodies. And I just love how Antoinette was saying about that touch therapy and that physical therapy. It reminded me of preemies, over the past couple of years, how they have realized that, oh, if we have human beings actually come and hold children and babies in the NICU, it increases their health and vitality, and it helps them to actually get better and get better faster and heal and soothes them. It's just amazing. There have been some research as well. A very well-known psychologist did a monkey research, and they looked at little baby monkeys, and they made a what appeared to be a mommy monkey, and they put like a pillow, and it was a wire monkey, and it had a bottle. And then they had another fake mommy monkey, and but she was made out of blocks, and the baby monkey preferred to go to the softer monkey, even though they weren't living, but the one that was softer, that had that place of comfort, they preferred that one versus the cold, stiff one. So it was just really interesting. I love that you're going to talk about that piece for sure. Can we open up Antoinette's mic? And I guess that'll be a great segue for her.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, ma'am.
Yay! So again, thank you for having me, ladies. It is definitely a privilege and an honor to be here. We all need to take care of ourselves. And where I come from, the perspective of is just making sure that women, and we have so many hats. And so making sure that we take care of ourselves, as we are a lot of times caregivers, wives, mothers to parents. And so with that, massage is a good way to do self-care. And sometimes it's seen as, oh, this is something sushi or I'm a loss for words. But what it is an allied health profession. It's one of the oldest forms of natural medicine, of healing medicine, because you are literally working externally, but affecting the body internally. And so when we talk about massage from the therapeutic side, as I said, it's an allied health profession, so it can go with all professions. How it ties into mental health, it is a time when people come to me specifically and they come to get a massage, it's a time for them to relax. So I just let them know that, you know what, this is your time. And a lot of times, because women, we're doing so much, we are usually talking to people or someone is telling us something, but we're not expressing like what our needs are, because it's just, it just, there's no time to. So when you come in, I always welcome people and I just give them a chance to just bring everything down. So it can be a brain dump. It can just be a time where they sit, but all of that is just, what it's doing is it's resetting you. It's giving you a chance to say, oh, wow, I really did need to sit still, or wow, I need to do this more often. Because once a person gets to that point where they're relaxed and then the touching starts to happen, they start to realize, like, I didn't know that was hurting. I didn't know I felt like that. I didn't know that was there. And all it is just stress built up, right? It's just built up. And how it plays when you mentally, we're just taught to like be worker bees and worker ants, go, 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 go. But when it builds up, we don't realize how much of our mental aspect is transitioning now to our bodies. So, people are like, well, my neck is always stiff, or my back is always stiff. It's because you haven't had the time to sit down, to sit still. You haven't had the time to talk, to express yourself. So when you get a massage, and it's not that some people just sit and they talk through the whole thing. Some do, some talk, some don't talk, but this is your time, like I said, to reset. This is your time to say, oh, I can take time for myself, and it's you giving yourself permission to take time for yourself, and not just take time for yourself, but to be touched in a way that there's compassion. Because if you're a mother, you got children, mommy, hey, mommy, or and there's people pulling on you. But when you get into a massage, and you feel like, first, I always lay hands, or I lay hands, and I just tell people to breathe. And just from that alone, you start to feel the body melt. And then I keep going, and they just start to melt. Sometimes people fall asleep. Sometimes people might go home, and afterwards, it's like, I cried, but I didn't even know why. It's an emotional.
I told it to Phyllis the other day. I said, there's been a time when I've had a massage, and during the massage, I've actually cried, and I wasn't necessarily thinking about anything dramatic or sad or even super happy. But whatever muscle that was, the C19, no, I'm teasing, but whatever. I cried. So is that, I guess, is that a chemical being released at that time, or is it that you're just so relaxed that I needed to cry and that's what happened, or I needed to sleep and that's what happened? So whatever chemical that gets released, then that's what happens. Is that?
So there are multiple things happening. So a lot of times we stuff emotions. So if let's say if the house is not on fire, we just say, oh, we just throw things to the side.
Yeah.
But all the throwing to the side is stuffing it.
Yeah.
And so as it's stuffing, it's building up in your body.
Yeah.
So it's not that something was terribly wrong. It's just that you're doing so much and you haven't had a time to release. because we don't really understand that we need release. We think release is doing this, scrolling on the phone. So when that happens, what's happening is you're getting circulation to that area. When you get circulation to that area, you're getting blood, you're getting lymph, which is your lymphatic
The fluid.
fluid, and then you're also getting, and so what happens and it releases, now your muscles feel like I can breathe. And so part of breathing is it is releasing serotonin, it is releasing dopamine, but it's also releasing that part of your body that was in pain. And so that tear is like a relief of pain, a release of pain, but then it's also a relief like somebody touched me, somebody paid attention to me, somebody allowed me to release and to rest. And so that's what's happening. So it's chemical and it's physical with the blood. And then you have the emotional release because it's all tied in together. Stress is an emotion that permeates your body in a physical manner.
And the thing is, I want to say too, because I want to bring Phyllis in this as well, because with exercising and with breathing, you're doing the same thing. You're not massaging necessarily yourself, but you're getting yourself moving and grooving, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, mental health, what is mental health? Mental health deals with our emotion. Mental health deals with our social well-being. And by the way, we're actually at the end of Mental Health Awareness Month, May. So we have a lot of great information to share about that. But when you think about it, there is a connection with the mind and the body. Okay. And like as Antoinette said, you're releasing, with exercise and with massage, you are releasing the dopamines, in your body, which is those pleasure sensors.
The endorphins.
Signals, right? Your body is sending signals that, okay, here's some, when it releases, you're getting that pleasure. And that's why things like massage and exercise is going to be so critical for anyone experiencing any mental health issue, whether it's anxiety, depression, all of that goes together because you do have that dopamine in there. You do have that serotonin in there, and they are all speaking, they're communicating, they're neurotransmitters. So they're speaking,
firing off
body, right, to be able to give your body what it needs. And when you have a deficiency in those things, then that's when you can replace them with, pharmaceuticals, they replace them. And then on the opposite end, people find that same pleasure seeking when they seek out self-medicating, like with alcohol and drugs. So there's the body is seeking that pleasure. The body wants to feel good. However, doing it in a way that's going to be responsible and that is not non-addictive, is definitely going to be the way that we can offer. And part of today is about that. Just what other ways can we manage our mental health? What are the ways, what resources do we have that's available to us? Because, mental health is a condition. To go back to the first question that was asked, how do we address someone who is having a mental illness crisis versus someone that's having a physical crisis? And I submit to you the same way. So the same way, if you knew I have a broken leg, I'm at home, I'm recovering from a broken leg, there are some things you're going to say. Can I bring you some soup? Chicken noodle soup? Can I bring you some food? Is there something I can do? Is there an errand I can run for you? You're going to check on them. Okay, I'll check on you every few days. So with mental health, then this is why this is so important. The conversation is so important. Mental health and Mental Health America has a whole campaign going on right now throughout the month of May and beyond to really break the stigma of mental health, to be able to let people know that I can talk about my mental health crises the same way I talk about my broken leg, and so when you have someone that has a mental health crisis, maybe they've just gotten out of a 72-hour hold at the hospital, yes, you can call them and say, is there anything I can do for you? Do you need to eat? They need to eat. They may not have an appetite, but can I do anything for you? How are your children doing? Can I walk your dog? So the same compassion and empathy that you would have for someone with a broken leg is the exact same one that you're going to have with someone who has a mental health crisis. Now, again, stigma is such a big thing. We don't like to talk about it. And of course, in our culture, what happens? We've been taught not to talk about it. Mental health is not something that we want to talk about. We should, it's in the family, but we need to break that cycle because someone may need that help. Someone needs to understand, mental health as it relates to the condition, but mental health as well as what resources are available for me. And so that's going to be really important. And so you guys know, what do I have? You know what I have, right?
Fibromyalgia.
No,
Fibromyalgia.
No, Sandrell got it. She said
Facts and knowledge.
Data. Facts and data.
And data. She always facts and data.
I'm glad I'm not that secret because
I apologize.
She just put my business all in the street. But again, talking about health issues.
That's what I thought you were saying. But yes, Phyllis, excuse us, all those who are streaming, Phyllis has facts and data. Get out your pen and pad immediately. Go.
Inconsistent with we are she's an organization that's going to provide you with knowledge, access, and resources and support. And so we're going to talk more about all the different things that we can do, but we want to talk about the knowledge. We want to also get into what is mental health, how is it impacting us as a nation, as a people. And so nearly 1 in 5 Americans have a diagnosable mental health. 46% of Americans will meet the criteria for a diagnosis of mental health. But here's one that's astounding.
Yes.
50 million adults in the US, just the US, have mental illness. 3.3 million have bipolar. 21 million have depression. 12 million have PTSD. 1.5 million have schizophrenia. 11.4 million American adults have suicidal thoughts, and 7 million have African Americans have mental illness. When you look at those numbers, when you hear those numbers, that's devastating.
And they're real people.
These
are not just a number, right?
So when you think about
our family.
Exactly. So when you think about 1 in 5, if there was one more of us here on the screen, one of us out of the 5 is going to have a mental health illness, have experience. And if you haven't experienced it directly, then you think about maybe you're a caregiver of someone or it's in your family. So it touches us everywhere, every aspect. And then you think about not getting care. So when we talk about like touch therapy and exercise and counselors and therapists, all of those things, there's a whole lot of people who aren't doing that. So my question is why? Why are we not getting the care we need, and how can we do better? So let's talk on that a little bit. Some of the things that comes to your mind.
Some of the things when it comes to my mind just thinking about it, because as I don't know, you all know, but many may not know that I am currently in the process of becoming a certified mental health coach and first aid responder. And what I found is that it's usually 11 years between onset and first treatment. Some of that is because, one, of the stigma, especially in our community. 2 is the healthcare system is overloaded and it has deficiencies. One being scheduling. There's not enough professionals to handle the increasing number of cases and clients and illnesses. And so it leaves people with one, either they're too far away from their home, they're outside of their budget, and their medical insurance don't cover it, which now medical insurance is seeing that, it's a health condition as anything else, and it's giving it its proper due and coverage.
Right.
I know Phyllis has some information on that regarding your EAP, Employee Assistance Program. Have recently increased the number of visits you can get per condition or treatment. So it's things, just a combination of things when it comes to why we're not getting the health, the attention and the treatment and the help that we need when it comes to our mental health. As Phyllis said earlier, she touched on it. A lot of it is tradition. It's just, tradition kills us. We
It's
don't really talk
taboo.
about it. It's taboo, but we need to start the conversation. As Sisters Healing and Wellbeing has been posting most throughout this month. Start the conversation. It has to start somewhere. And so when we look at the scope of all of these different things that are hindering us, we all have our own different reasons, whether it's a lack of coverage to get the treatment that we need, or a lack of the funding finances that we need to get the help we need, or if it's just where we pushed it to the side and not dealt with it, saying, oh, we've chopped it up to I don't need help, I'll be okay. A lot of us say that because we've seen patterns of it in our family. Oh, mom and dad was going through some things, grandma was going through something, uncle was going through something, but no one ever really addressed it. They just chopped it up as, oh, so-and-so is crazy, or so-and-so is just that way. And so we just really need to break the stigma and overcome these things, these challenges that causes us not to seek the help that we need, the help that
I wanted to connect something that you just said, Chandra, what Antoinette said too. When she was describing the massage therapy, she had mentioned almost like sometimes people think that it's frou-frou. I think that's what she said, right? It's for the upper echelon. And we don't even make a connection that it's actually a medical treatment. And I didn't learn that until I started going to the chiropractor a few years ago. My chiropractor is in an office where he actually has massage therapy and masseuses, I guess, right? Masseuses?
Massage therapist.
Okay. A massage therapist under the same roof. And so with my one copay, I can go and get my back adjusted, the neck cracking and popped all, and then go upstairs and get a massage. A 30-minute, it was all within the same copay. And we don't even think about it as medical treatment. I think sometimes there is a stigma that sometimes it's for the rich and the famous as a lap of luxury, when in actuality, it can be that, but it's not exclusive to that.
It's not exclusive to that. And it goes back to, if we want to look at it from a spiritual standpoint, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. We lack knowledge about these benefits that we pay for on our jobs. We don't thoroughly read all of what's included in our benefits packages. So that's another thing, it's just that's another added reason that we don't receive the treatment. I always tell people, if you're paying for these benefits, use it to the maximum. Know what it covers, know what it doesn't cover. You never know when you're going to be in a situation where you need it. And mental health is one thing that we need to know exactly what's in our benefits package, what is covered, what our EAP offers, how much our copay is, if a doctor is in network, out of network, what copays are. We need to know. Because, as you said, the numbers are alarming. Phyllis just read the numbers to us. And the thing about it is, they were alarming before COVID. They were.
Let's be clear. They've only gone up.
They've only gone up, and COVID did not cause mental health to be impacted like this. Mental health is already at a high level. However, the spotlight was not on it. COVID just shined a spotlight on the true state of mental health issues. And so that's, and that in itself is just a reason to know, we have people, now we're quarantined. We don't have a way to escape from our mental health issues. So we're quarantined, we're face to face with these this sadness. We're face to face with this anxiety. We're face to face with this depression. We're
Mhm.
face to face with just feeling hopeless. We're face to face with this,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
number of death by suicide has risen, not
Mhm.
only in adults but in children and teens.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know,
Domestic violence.
domestic violence, children and adults are home, were at home before things started to reopen, at home 24 hours a day, some days, with
Mhm.
their abusers.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of things. There's, and like you said, that it's a disconnect because, as Antoinette said, no one's, there's no touch, or a feel of connection.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
yeah, you can scream and socialize through video chats and telephone calls, but it's not the same as
It's
in
not the
person.
same. It's not the same. May
So,
I say something also too, as it relates to the mental health aspect of everything that we're talking about? As I was going through my psychology program, I just kept reading a lot of something that was a through line, and there was always, well, excuse me, let me say it this way: there was oftentimes trauma from childhood that goes along with a lot of the things that we deal with. And it was something that really kept speaking to me. And as believers and as a Christian organization, we always, for especially for those of you who are streaming in, we're a Christian organization, and so we always are going to bring up the Lord and our Lord and Savior, because no matter what, he is always a helper and a healer and the greatest resource that anyone could ever give you, and spiritual resource. And that does start in your mind as well. When you have faith and you believe, and renewing your mind is something that is so important. We are getting the listener is saying there's some feedback on the audio,
yeah,
so yeah, if we
there.
can maybe mute. um Thank you, Chandrell. And something, we have to retrain how we're thinking about mental illness, mental health and illnesses, that are plaguing us. I know, for example, growing up, none of this stuff is new, the things that we're dealing with. But
Mhm.
I'm sure, observed specifically women, but men too. We saw the people in our lives. They didn't talk about it. Would you say, Antoinette? They stuffed it down and they kept it moving. We really never had good examples on how to address a problem, dissect a problem, problem solve for the problem, seek, help. Maybe outside of praying and going to church, but even with going to church, there was like a limit. It's just give it to Jesus and you keep walking. Give it to the Lord and keep walking.
Mhm.
We have to do better. We just have to do better, whether it's in the church or outside the church. We have to do better. We need real practical things that we can do, like going to get a massage, like exercising, breathing techniques. I know Phyllis has taught about. We have to be able to, do something tangible, and it's not to discredit the Lord, it's not to discredit doctors, it's to know that we have power to
Mhm.
take in that information, the experiences that we have experienced, the things that we've seen in our lives, and be able to set it down, look at it square in the face, and be able to put it where it belongs.
Right.
You know
Uh,
what I mean?
yeah, and an understanding of it, has to come into play. The more, like, Sandra, you had mentioned earlier, someone may say, well, such and such is crazy. And so the very interesting thing is when someone has, high blood pressure, you don't refer to them, oh, that's the high blood pressure woman,
Exactly.
but we say that's the crazy woman. Okay.
Right.
Mhm.
And then, we don't sometimes we don't even understand where we are in the process. We don't understand because we've not been taught, like you said, to kind of dissect and peel back the onion, that maybe there's we have anxiety or depression or schizophrenia, PTSD, all of those things. If we don't recognize where we are, in this process, then we're going to think that, oh, this is normal. Feeling like this is just a normal part of my day. We have all been so isolated through COVID that we may not get that the feeling that we're feeling, the pain that we have in our body, the pain we have in our back, those headaches that we're getting stems from the stress and depression and things that we're going through. So we have to know, like anxiety, before it is really diagnosed as anxiety, a person has it for 6 months. Same thing with depression. If you're depressed for 2 months, or bipolar, so the medical industry has put the criteria and guidelines on it that if you have a certain condition, because we all have feelings, sometimes low feelings, high feelings, we all have it. But when you have these feelings and they impact your ability to work,
to
live,
function,
that's when you really have to look at what's going on. Why am I having these feelings and why I'm having these thoughts? And then know, and you brought up, Chandra, I love the fact that you brought up EAP. A lot of people don't utilize EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, because they don't really realize it's a resource that's available. Maybe they don't trust their employer. It is 100% confidential. I will say, well, I will put a disclaimer out there. It's supposed to be confidential, and I believe that it is. But your employer doesn't get the information that you and your counselor talks about.
right?
The only time it becomes disclosed is if your employer makes you go for some other reason. Okay. But like if they're working on you on some remedial kind of things. But other than that, you go into EAP and it is confidential. You have EAP for yourself, you have EAP for your family. As you mentioned before, Chandrell, especially during COVID, when you go in, you can go in for one topic. Once that is closed, if you have a different one, you can go in. It's on average about 6 sessions per year. But if you go in for a new situation, then it starts all over. A lot of people say, well, yeah, I went and I didn't like the therapist, didn't have a good visit. Well, just like you go to a restaurant, you might have a bad meal at a restaurant, but you probably are going to go back. You're going to continue looking for the food that you want. So it's the same thing with EAP. Still look for the therapist that works for you. It has to be a fit because there's a trust factor.
Right.
So if we can kind of keep that in mind, we can get the help we need, and that's free. That's 100% free. So there's no reason that, if you say I don't have the money to talk to someone, I can't pay for a therapist, you can go to EAP.
Yeah. May I piggyback off of something? I wanted to bring Antoinette back into it as well. Because Phyllis just mentioned, a lot of the things that we're carrying mentally, it's going to manifest naturally. And that's in essence what ends up happening, right? So we have headaches, muscle aches, back aches, things that are just, I can't get out of bed, that kind of thing. And a lot of times those physical ailments are presenting themselves, and it's starting from our minds. And I just wanted to ask Antoinette if she can piggyback and bring in, the massage therapy and things of that nature, and how that really can help to ease people's pain. Because Miss Ann asked, will pain cause you not to be able to relax? And I can definitely say 100%, absolutely yes. But there are some things that we can do to help alleviate those things. And I know, just very simply, like if you do take a soaking bath and you get some Epsom salt and things like that, that can help draw out, some of the fluid that'll help, ease your muscles and things like that. And cool water versus warm water, heating pads, things like that. But if you could just bring that in too, Antoinette, about, massage therapy and how it can help relax and ease some of the pain so people can actually rest.
Right. So thank you for bringing me back in. I was just muted. But so when it comes to relaxing, because I saw the question, but I don't have the ability to respond. So yes. Did she say, can pain cause you not to relax? Was that the question?
Yes, ma'am.
100% yes. 100%. Because when you are in pain, it's not just like a mental feeling. It is a physical occurrence. So oftentimes where there is pain, if somebody, touches you and you're like, ow, it's just like, I barely touched you. But what it feels like somebody punched you or they just like dug in, then that means there is poor circulation. And so where there is circulation, there is healing. So oftentimes we're not getting proper circulation of the blood, of the lymphatic fluid, of our neurotransmission, which is our nerves going back and forth. And so it's all tied in together. So if you are, say you're a person and like Jacqueline, you said it's hard for you to get out of bed because you're in pain. The first practical thing you can do is breathe deeply. And so a lot of times people do this. No, you want to inhale through your nostril and you want to allow your stomach, as you're inhaling, you want your stomach to fill with air to capacity. And then when you exhale, you want to exhale slowly out of your mouth, like you're blowing on hot tea, because what that is going to do on the exhale, your muscles start to release. So 8 times is a good place to start. And what's going to happen is the more you inhale and exhale, you literally allowing your body to get oxygen to your brain, to your limbs, and so the muscles start to release. If you are having, sometimes people are having lower back pain, you can literally lay on your back. You can bring your feet as close to your buttocks as possible. And if you have like no issues like injuries, then you can just, your legs will be here in a neutral position. And then you just slowly let it fall to the left or fall to the right. And as it's falling, you're exhaling. Because now what that's doing is those posterior or back muscles that are in the back, on the exhale, they start to lengthen, because many of us, even before COVID, we had jobs where we were sedentary, working at a computer, or if you had a job where you were standing, it's still the same pulling. One is a compression, so you're compressing down the spine. The other one is you're standing and it's just pulling, like it's pulling from your hamstrings, which are at the back of your thigh. And then your back muscles, because we have so many different, we have like 4 different groups of back muscles, is pulling from there. So in that case, it doesn't matter whether you're sitting or you're standing, there is tension being caused. And so, like I said, inhale through your nostrils, out exhale, and then your body starts to relax, because oftentimes if we're side sleepers, we're still in a contracted state. And so even though we don't fully rest, our bodies are not fully resting. And so some things outside of just not really, sometimes when we may eat very late. So if you're eating late and then you're going to bed, your body can't rest because your body is still processing.
It's metabolizing and
You're not on your side, so you're slowing down the metabolism, because literally when you sleep on your side, this shortens, and so you're literally balling yourself up and making it harder for you to breathe. 2, for you to metabolize the food. So your body is just deprived of the proper circulation of your blood, your lymph fluid, and your nerves.
Wow.
So just taking that time in the morning to breathe. And also, just behind me here, I have some things like I am powerful, I am whole, I am strong. Because oftentimes when we wake up the first thing in the morning, the mind starts to race. And say you woke up fine, but now your mind is racing about all the things you need to do. And you tense up again. So that again is going to allow you to reset. And I keep using the word reset because you don't have to go over to Tahiti to reset. You can lay there in your bed.
Right.
You can focus on one thing that you're grateful for. Breathe. Do one simple stretch. and you would be amazed at how it decompresses the lower back and how it lengthens these muscles along the sides, which are called the obliques. And so literally you're bringing in oxygen, you're bringing in blood, and you can even just stretch out your legs and just roll your feet.
And make sure not to get a cramp, because that happens to me.
Yeah. And so that's adding mobility. So all of that is what a person do in the morning, and you would be amazed at how relaxed you are, because we're always in a go, go, go mode.
Yeah.
There's almost always something to be anxious about, and we have to literally stop and say, nothing has gone wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It will be taken care of.
Yeah.
I am going to give myself grace and compassion. And when you are speaking those words to yourself with the breathing, you just start to blossom like this flower. And it's just like, oh, I am fine. Nothing has gone wrong.
Yeah.
And these are practical things that you can do, and just being in the mindset of being grateful and saying out of your mouth, God, I'm grateful that you woke me up this morning.
Yeah.
I'm grateful, that I can get up. I might be feeling some pain, but I can get up. And oftentimes, even through the pain, if you get up and you just start to move slowly and breathing, you would be amazed. A lot of things start off small, and because we don't catch them in the infancy stage,
they snowball.
But that breathing is so important. And that's why I have people breathe when they're on the table. And now then they get into the rhythm of, oh, I need to breathe deeply. Right. And it just, like I said, it resets, because if your blood is not flowing, then it's stagnant. If it's stagnant, then you are having the deoxygenated blood with all the toxins in your muscles.
They're like concentrated. So is that like when, like if you have a knot, or if you say, okay, my muscles feel tight, that's what that really is?
That's what it is. Because let's say this is your muscle and all this deoxygenated blood is there. Now, the blood has to go through, your nerves have to go, the lymphatic fluid has to go. But if this is there, how much space does it really have to get through? So we're functioning, but we're functioning in pain. And because our pain receptors know it, a lot of times they'll block it off, because if we really felt how much pain we were really in,
you wouldn't be able to go through.
Right. And so that's another reason why people sometimes have that emotional release, because the body's like, oh, thank you. I have been needing you for so long. Thank you for doing this for me.
Yeah.
And if I can just add a couple other things. Chandra, when you asked about why people don't get help, sometimes they don't know, because they've seen everybody go, things happen and you see everybody just push through.
It's not modeled.
The one person that doesn't push through, they say, oh, that person is weak, or, and so there are not even telltale signs. They're just blaring, help, help, help. But if the lights are out and you've been living with this health sign all along, you're like, oh, that's always been there. And you don't know to go and get help. You don't know, like, this is a symptom, this is a sign, this is
unhealthy, right? I said it's unhealthy.
It's unhealthy, right? But if you don't know, if you've just seen people work and go and go and go, if you don't know, you would not know to get help, because sometimes people think, like you said, it's not for me. And until we understand that health is for everybody across the board, it's for everybody. And then understanding that you don't have to do like these big grandiose things to get your health back. Even just taking a walk outside can reset your mind. So that's pretty much it.
No, I love it. But Chandra, I just wanted, if it's okay, because the piece that I really wanted to add to this conversation too, Antoinette touched on it for a moment. When we wake up, What are we thinking about?
Mhm.
What did we wake up with that we've carried with us from yesterday, from the last week, for the last month, for the last decade? That is super important.
Mhm.
And I love how she said, wake up with gratitude on your lips, right?
Yeah.
But being mindful, and this is something that we are always understanding of. We are real people, so we are carrying the issues from yesterday, last week, last decade, whenever it was, right? So what are we thinking about? So that that mental health, the same way Phyllis said, what you're thinking about, it can and it will impact your physical body. And so I just wanted to delve a little bit deeper too, as it relates to what are we thinking about. And as I was finishing up my courses, I really kept thinking about the trauma that we all have experienced from time to time, in our lives. And the Lord kept telling me, a theory of forgiveness, and it's nothing new as a Christian, but when you and I are experiencing things, where are we housing those experiences? And how is it affecting your day-to-day life? And I just wanted to share, that piece of it. When it comes to your mind, you are housing information, you are housing your experiences, you're housing your emotions. And we have gone through so many things, and a lot of things need to be forgiven. A lot of people need to be forgiven. And I just truly believe with my whole heart, if as especially as believers, and even if you're not a believer yet, if you posture yourself in a place where you can be open to the idea of forgiving other people for the things that they have done, it will begin to release, like we're talking about, those good chemicals. It will begin to release some of those weights that are besetting us. It will begin to release, some of those things that are holding us back from being happy, from being peaceful, for being joyous, for being healed in our minds and in our bodies. And I really wanted to share that piece of it, because I truly believe that it's important. It's just as important as going to the doctors. Like I said, especially as a believer, what is in our minds, it can take you close to the throne, and it can take you to a place where the Lord can heal you, can help you, can guide you and counsel you. Or the things that we're thinking can have you so far away from Him, where we can become and spiral out of control, be anxious, be depressed, and be sick in our physical man. So I just wanted to piggyback off of that. That's just so, it's just so heavy on me, as it relates to our minds. Um,
Well, I agree. Forgiveness is a part of the healing process, especially for our minds and our bodies. However, some people need, more than a spiritual aspect to
yeah,
get to that place where they're able to forgive.
yeah.
Not only forgive others, but a lot of it is forgiving of self. You know,
Say it.
self, you know, self guilt, self shame, all of these things we carry sometime for ourselves, because of things that we dealt with in life, can cause us to manifest these mental conditions and cause us to manifest the physical conditions as a result of the built up stress, the built up shame, the built up guilt, the built up anger, all of these things, the built up hurt and pain. So
Yeah.
we need to know our options. This comes back to knowing what options are available to you for treatment.
Mm-hmm.
We must know that, and as a goal of ours here at Sisters Healing and Evolving through the this platform and through different programs that we offer, we're wanting to make sure that you have that knowledge. There's different aspects we talked about earlier. I spoke, there was a barrier to receiving help, where there's this thing called mental health coaching. People that you don't really hear people talk about that. But it's available to people. Mental health coaching allows you to have a coach that comes alongside you and walk. They're that bridge, they're that gatekeeper to help you to identify those behaviors that causes, that causes these underlying issues. So that's one option. Therapy is a great tool. And I want to say this, and I want to make this known, and just put it out there. Having mental health issues or conditions, I'm not going to say issues, but conditions, because they're conditions. And we really need to start formulating
use the right words,
language, so that these stigmas can be broken.
Yeah.
Because there's no shame in having a mental health condition.
Right.
There's no shame in having high blood pressure. There's no shame in having a mental health condition. And there's no guilt in it. There's no guilt and no shame. And we need to start putting that out there. And what I want to make known is it's okay to have faith and to be a believer and to still have mental health conditions.
Right.
It's okay. If no one else is telling you that, I'm telling you, because it needs to be said. It's a part of breaking the stigma. I have been in a family where they don't need mental health therapy. They don't need therapy. All they need to do is pray. Well, prayer coupled with therapy works. And God was a therapist. If you want to look at it from a deeper level, he walked alongside people. He came alongside them and he stayed with them. And he helped them to get to a better place. He helped them to come to the other side. So we need to understand our options. We need to be able to understand what's available to us. There's great therapists, there's great clinicians out there that can help you as a believer. If you are a believer and you're looking for the spiritual aspect to your counseling, if you're looking for a Christian counselor, there's Christian counselors available to you. You can Google search it and put it in as a criteria. If you're not looking for one, that's fine as well. But get the help that we need. There's nothing wrong with seeking help. In fact, Jesus says, in our weakness, he's strong. He's made strong through our weakness. So we should delight in that knowing that there's no shame, there's no regret.
Right.
And we don't have to carry that. And I know Phyllis has great resources that she has, and that I want her to share with us at this point, because we need to know our options. Knowledge is very key. One, we need to know that no matter how it looks, no matter how bad it seems, we're not hopeless.
Amen.
We're not hopeless.
Yeah.
And we've seen an increase in death by suicide because of hopelessness. These things have piled up, and as Antoinette has said, they're piled up. We've swept them away, and we've come to a place of hopelessness. Well, I'm telling you tonight, if you're listening, you're not hopeless. You're not rejected. You're not loved, and you're not needed. You are needed. These are things that come and constantly can be like a broken recorder on repeat that speaks to our minds. We need to be mindful of what we are entertaining, what we're listening to, because these voices are
would you rehearsing, right?
Yeah, they're loud and they're on repeat, and we have to be mindful to say, as Antoinette said, take a deep breath. Breathe in, breathe out, and think for a moment to, get a moment, ask for a moment of clarity where you can see that you're not in a hopeless state. There's options available to you to get the help that you need. And there's no need to be ashamed. There's no need to have regret, no need to have guilt, because everyone needs help at one point or another in
Yep.
their life, whether it's mental, whether it's natural, financial, physical, you're going to need help.
Mhm.
And once we understand that there's a different perspective to see mental health through a different lens that we can see mental health through, I think that, we can come together and make plans for recovery, make plans to have a better you mentally and emotionally, because we have to address these things. Phyllis, do you want to chime in here with some resources and some data? I know you have it for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said about there's hope. And that's the whole message, especially in the mental health first aid class, is one of the things that we do teach, is that there is hope for recovery. And you think about, how do I talk to someone who is experiencing a mental health crisis? Even if it's yourself, it's a family member, the main message is there's hope for recovery. How do
Mhm.
you get to that hope? Well, you may not be, we may talk to someone, you may not be the person that person can confide in, and that's
Mhm.
okay. We have to stop believing that we are the one to fix this person. You may
Yes.
not be. You have to allow that person, empower them with the autonomy to be able to make a decision about
Yes.
their care. The same way they're going to make a decision about their medical, their health, their physical, they're going to be able to make the same decision. So what we do more so is we help and guide them to the
Mhm.
resources that is available, versus telling them this is what they should do, that you should do this, you should do that. We just
Exactly.
make those things available. We have a listening ear. We listen non-judgmentally. Okay. You want to, when someone is sharing things with you, and especially as Jackie alluded to, like, when you're working in the body of Christ, sometimes we have that mentality of, okay, just pray about it. It's going to be fine. Just pray about it. However, you have to listen to a person with no judgment. Okay.
Mhm.
Listen to what they're saying. Sometimes we look at a person and say, oh, they're just acting out. They're needy. Well, instead of thinking that they're needy, what need do they have? Go beyond what you think you see and listen non-judgmentally, so that you can help them to where they need to go. Even before that, if you want to do a screening to determine whether or not where you are mentally, your mental health, the Mental Health America has a screening, at mhascreening.org. You can start there to determine whether or not, and I don't know if you can type it in the chat, mhascreening.org. That is going to take you through a screening on whether or not, assessing where you are. You can use that screening tool as a first conversation piece with your physician. Okay. Doctor, here is some information I got. Here's where I am. Your doctor is a very good first resource. You also can go to psychology.org, okay, to find a therapist. I think it's also called thrive.org.
Mhm.
That's when you can put in all of your criteria. And if you, based on your insurance, based on if you want a male, if you want a female, based on if you want some, and here's the important part, even based on if you want someone that has knowledge in trauma, family therapy, uh, children therapy, domestic abuse, whatever it is your focus is, you can type that in and you can find a therapist that fits the criteria that you want. Because again, finding a therapist, they're going to be with you. They're going to be with you. You need to make sure that there's a match. And so, if you actually go to Mental Health America, there are a host of resources, and I have it in a PDF form. And I don't know, I can't add it to the chat. I don't know if you guys are able to do it, but I created this PDF out of the Mental Health America May Mental Health Month that gives just a lot of great information to kind of assess where you are in the mental process and what do you do. There's even a flow chart. Okay, I'm here, and here are my issues. Here are the things that I'm thinking about. This is the path that I need to take. So it's going to take you through that. Um, there's also vocabulary that's going to be helpful. Like when you were talking to your doctor, you want to be able to talk the language that they're not that you have to, but if you understand some of the language that the doctors is saying to you, then it makes it a whole lot easier for you to get the treatment that you need.
Mhm.
So those are some of the things that are in that PDF, and just giving some great information.
Mhm.
You The mental health first aid class is a tremendous class for the lay person to take. A couple of things that we focus on is the stigma
Mhm.
of mental health, how to overcome that stigma. We're going to look at signs and symptoms. Jackie mentioned that earlier, how to recognize the signs and symptoms. When a person is having an anxiety attack, well, the symptoms to an anxiety attack can mimic that of a heart attack. So
Mhm.
going through that process and identifying the signs and symptoms. And then when they're worsening signs and symptoms, what do we do when a person is getting worse? I think someone said it earlier that the symptoms, the signs and symptoms is glaring. You may be able to see it. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes a person will look like everything is fine to you, but at home they're someone totally different. Okay, they're really depressed. So there are a lot of ways that we can help to recognize some of the signs and symptoms.
Mhm.
In the class, we do talk about anxiety, panic attacks, hallucinations, um, psychosis, schizophrenia, all of those things, and not from a standpoint of I'm going to diagnose this person. If they're acting this way, I'm going to diagnose them. More so, what am I recognizing, and how do I get the help to them that they need?
Mhm.
And that's kind of where we need to be,
Mhm.
and even if that help is for ourselves,
Mhm.
we may be the one person to save ourselves. We don't
Yeah.
know.
Wow. And I will tell you too, Phyllis, I did put the link in the chat.
Okay.
And we've all said the word stigma, right? There's stigmas around mental health. And you mentioned going to the doctors. And I think that's just really key. There have even been times when there's something physically wrong and we may be shy or embarrassed to even talk to our doctor about something.
Yeah.
And that's the stigma. And
Mhm.
we have to break it because we know
Yeah.
that it's going to save, has the potential of
Yeah.
saving our lives.
Yeah. And
You
with that is in July 2022, there's going to be a new number. We have 911 as how do I get help? Okay.
Mhm.
And now we're going to have a number. It's going to be 988. You dial 988 and you'll be able to get someone from a mental health standpoint. Okay.
mm,
So now you can just dial 988. It's going to take you that you're going to get someone, suicide hotline. You're going to get all the resources that involves mental health. Because here's the thing, and let me also, there's a mental health, there's a behavioral health urgent care getting ready to open in
Mhm.
January and February of 2022. The Smith Family Foundation has funded this project. They've already broken ground. So this is going to be in Mecklenburg County. And so now the whole thing of I'm having a mental crisis and I have to go to the ED, this is going to allow that process now to be more streamlined so that you don't have to go on a 72-hour hold, or
mm,
you don't have to, when you call 911, have police come. You may get a police officer that's not trained in crisis intervention and they misinterpret your behavior as hostile, and when they think you're being hostile, then they're going to handle you that way.
right.
So very important when you call 911, if this is a mental crisis, please, please, please ask them for a crisis assistance officer that has been trained and crises assistance. They're different officers, and they have been trained to de-escalate the situation versus an officer that just comes in and he just came in from a robbery situation and now he's coming to you. So
Mhm.
that is going to be very important to verify that, to not verify, but to ask for that, so that when they come, they know that, okay, this is a mental health crisis. They can de-escalate. So you have the 988 coming in July, and then you have the behavioral health urgent care coming into Mecklenburg County. You don't even need insurance to go there, okay? But they are going to be able to receive the patient and make an assessment as to what is their care of action, what's going to be the appropriate care of action. A lot of times you go into the ED and it's just a different situation, and some of it is, turns out great. Even when an officer comes with a mental health crisis, they may even handcuff you, and so you're thinking, I'm not a criminal, but that's for their safety and yours. They do that, but that could be traumatizing.
Yeah.
That's absolutely traumatizing to a person.
Mhm.
So, just being aware of some things in the link, it's going to be no, not emails, but websites that you can contact your state officials on, what you feel and what you say about the mental health status in our area. So yeah, so those are some things that I think I answered the question.
Yes, you did. You did. This has been an awesome conversation. And I think we've touched, on the different aspects of mental health, illness, and just providing knowledge where to get support and where to get resources. And that, I think we've accomplished that goal through this conversation tonight, because, this is not going to be the only conversation. Sisters Healing and Evolving She Healthy Woman comes every month on the fourth Monday of the month, and we discuss health issues. We want to make sure that we are having an open dialogue about health, and we're removing stigmas, not only about mental health, which we're in Mental Health Awareness Month, but not only for mental health, but for health in general. There are many health issues that we lack knowledge in, and we just don't talk about. And so, there's much more to this conversation than what was said tonight. And we welcome, any feedback that you have, so that we can expand the conversation, expound on this conversation, and bring you even more knowledge, access, and support to make sure that we are leading healthy and productive lives. We can't lead productive lives if we're not leading healthy lives, because there's always going to be a gap there that needs to be bridged or to close. So I'm excited about this conversation. I'm excited about everyone that has participated tonight, everyone who watched or will watch the replay later. We thank you for it. I'm excited about this. This has been a really great conversation. I thank Antoinette for bringing her wealth of knowledge in regards to touch therapy. Please make sure, Antoinette, you put your contact information in the chat so we can share that.
I'm not able to, I don't have access to,
Comments
was
on
it
the
in
top.
the private chat? Oh, shoot.
You can put it in the private chat, and Jackie can post it for you.
Okay.
Post it for you. Yep, you can put it in the private chat. Make sure we have your information. Phyllis, make sure you put your information in the chat as well. So anyone who is in need of any health education for their team or staff, please reach out to Phyllis. I will tell you, I've used her services in volunteer for volunteer teachers and different things, and her services is phenomenal. She brings a wealth of information, and she's very, very good at what she does, as well as Antoinette. They're both extremely awesome women who are passionate about their gift and craft. So I'm excited that we've had this conversation. I'm grateful that you've taken the time to share with us your knowledge and just ways that we can improve on our health, especially our mental health, because our mental health affects so many aspects of our lives.
Mhm.
And the title of this project is "Our Health is Our Wealth," and our mental health is our wealth. Because without our mental health, our mindset matters. Our how we think, how we feel, our emotions, all of those things come into how we live each and every day, and the decisions and the choices that we make. And we want to
Mhm.
make sure that we are making choices that are conducive to leading and living productive lives.
Mhm.
Are there any closing remarks from any of you wonderful ladies tonight, as we or anything that you would like to leave with our viewers and replay viewers? Any little nuggets that you want them to take away?
I would just like to say also, a lot of times going back, because really how I view this is a circle. So if you're working in the work field, then you come and you take care of children and other family members. You don't usually have time for yourself. You don't usually have time to eat, right? So sometimes you're not eating at all. So your body thinks it's in starvation mode, and you may just go and eat a really big meal, or you will eat fast food. The reason that I bring that up is because um, fast foods are known to give a quick shot of dopamine. And so a lot of times people don't have time to eat properly or to cook. And so that dopamine is always going out. And so now you're in a depressed state. So oftentimes, coupled with the fact that we're going through so much, if this dopamine is continually going out, we're depleted, and that's how we get our dopamine fix. So foods can literally bring down your mood. So we want to look at the foods that we're eating, and I'm not saying, the big thing now is go vegan. I'm just saying look at what you're putting into your body, and can you substitute it out for some fruit? Can you substitute it out for just something that came from the earth and that is natural? And so there's so many things that come from the earth that are natural that you can eat that will literally help you right now. Like I'm drinking this. This is papaya, pineapple, lemon, lime, uh,
Kombucha.
and ginger. And but this right here is going to boost your energy. It's going to help to clean your gut. A lot of times, with people who have a mental condition, oftentimes there's some gut issues that are going on because there's a direct link. So just get a blender, blend it up, or go buy it, from someone if you don't want to do it yourself. But these are practical things that you can do. And the last thing I will say is there's a book. The author is Caroline Leaf, and it's called Switch on Your Brain. Uh, when Chandra, when you were talking about, and all of us alluded to it, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? And so, from childhood traumas or just other traumas, there's a groove in the brain that the more we think about it, the more we ruminate on it. It is now a groove in the brain. So this book shows you how to practically replace that wording. Because yes, there is prayer, but when we talk about the renewing of the mind, is what are you telling yourself? So if you and know, this is another point I wanted to bring up, that you are worthy. You are worthy of healing. You're worthy of forgiveness. You're worthy of all the fruit of the spirit, the peace. And this book, Switch on Your Brain, is by a Christian neuroscientist. We have neuroplasticity, which means our brains are moldable. And so,
They
with you
regenerate.
saying something different, that replacing the negative, if you every day, I am loved by God and I love myself, that alone, consistent 21 days, will break a negative thought and form a new thought, because the negative thoughts are literally like trees. They're like trees. So just you doing that, you break that negative connection and then you form a new connection. So the book is called Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf. And if anyone on here is a reader and you want to understand why you keep thinking these thoughts. Yes, they're from the trauma, but this is another way for you to reset through the reading of books. So I think I had more to say, but I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Antoinette. And that was Caroline Leaf. Switch on your brain.
Absolutely, yes. Yes. And
Caroline.
you can get it from Amazon, you can get it from thriftbooks.com, but it's a great resource. And the fact that she's coming from the biblical standpoint and she's a neuroscientist, it shows the spiritual aspect and how science is catching up to what God has always been saying to renew your mind. And so she takes you through how to renew your mind, and it's on a 5th grade level. So it's nothing like, oh my gosh, it's simple things that you do daily to renew your mind. And once you start renewing your mind, you can literally reverse physical trauma in the body that the body is housing.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Thank you so much for sharing that, Antoinette.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie, would you like to say something, or Phyllis, would you like to leave us with some nuggets to close out?
Yeah, I ditto to what Antoinette said. It's just that, what are we thinking about? Just retraining, renewing, refreshing how we're thinking about things and how we're thinking about ourselves. So, we're talking about mental health. Mental health is your wealth, and I want to be rich in it. I want to, whenever it's time to spend it, I want to be able to have something to spend. I don't want to be at a deficit, and I don't want any of the watchers or anyone who's listening to us, or if for that matter, not listen to us, it doesn't matter. I don't want anyone to be at a deficit, because our minds, it's just so amazing, how God has just constructed us and made us and formed and fashioned us, and that's where all the good stuff is coming from. And I just want to be healthy. I want all of us to be healthy and just be mindful to renew our minds, speak to someone who's trustworthy, a doctor, mental health professional. Don't be ashamed. It's the way our minds work. Don't be ashamed of any of that. If you need help, ask for help, and don't stop until you get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thank you, Jackie.
And I would say, piggyback on that, definitely renewing your mind. And, as you're going about, we have a tendency when we ask a person, how are you doing? We don't really stop to get the answer. So it just goes back to listening to people, listening to yourself. If you ask yourself, how am I feeling? Don't overlook it. Don't overlook what you're feeling. What you're feeling is real. And it is something that God would reveal, so that you can find the resources. We can find the resources to help us. Touch therapy is going to be wonderful. Moving your body. Something happens when you move your body. God created our bodies to move. And even if you may even have limited mobility, move what you can move. But when we move our bodies, we open up the opportunity for God to really pour into us that joy. And we need it. We need to move. So just be encouraged, stay encouraged, and encourage others.
Yes.
And you really, if you ask someone, how are they doing? If you are able to go online to the Kevin Hines story, Kevin Hines, I think, .org, Hines, Kevin Hines. He was someone who jumped off of the Golden Gate Bridge, and he survived. And one of the things that he said, if someone had just stopped and asked me, how was I may not have done it. But he crossed so many people's path, and they ignored his tears. He was crying. He was on a bus. He was at the bridge and someone asked him to take a photo of them on the bridge, and took the photo and kept going, and then he jumped. And so you never know where a person is, but if we pay attention, stop looking at everything else. Yeah, the Kevin Hines story. Stop looking at all these things, getting distracted. Pay attention to people. Look in their face. Ask them how are they doing, and stop and listen.
All right. This has been awesome, ladies, and I am so glad that we did take the time out to address and have this conversation this evening. And I pray that this conversation has blessed someone, that has truly helped someone, and equipped and empowered and encouraged someone to be able to take the necessary steps to make a plan of recovery, to reach out, to start the conversation. And I know that's something that God has just placed on my heart this month when I was thinking about Mental Health Awareness Month. Just start the conversation. As Phyllis said, take the time just to speak to someone. Take the time to look them in the eye and to acknowledge our fellow mankind. So acknowledge your brother, acknowledge your sister, no matter what race, no matter what sex, no matter what religion, no matter what background or where we came from. Just take the time to acknowledge one another. It may save a life. And so that's all that I want to say. And I'm just grateful once again to you all for to each and every one of you who took the time to watch this live tonight, and to all of the ladies that spoke, to Antoinette, Phyllis, and Jackie. I'm so grateful to have you to be with us tonight for this conversation, and to dedicate your time because your time was greatly needed to have this conversation so that others can know that there's ways that we can overcome mental health illness, and there's help available to us. There's different resources that are available, and that we are not hopeless. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and everyone have a awesome night. And do not forget to get your rest, and don't sleep on your side all balled up. Antoinette says it draws us in. You have a great night.
When she said that, I said, Lord, I gotta change my habits.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yes. So everyone have a great night. Ladies, don't disconnect yet. I'm just going to end the broadcast, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Okay.